Chains of the past. Andrew grew up in a house where discipline outweighed love. His father, a stern man with high expectations, believed that strictness was the only path to success. Every rule broken was met with either cold silence or stern punishment, sometimes accompanied by a glare so icy it made Andrew wish he could disappear. His mother, a quiet and soft-spoken woman, was always there, but her role was limited to quiet compliance with her husband. She would occasionally try to comfort Andrew, but the weight of her husband's authority was too great, and the silence that followed every disobedience was louder than any words she could offer. Andrew swore to himself that when he had children, things would be different. "I will never raise my hand to a child. I will never yell. I will teach my kids love and respect, not fear," he repeated to himself as a teenager, his resolve growing stronger with each passing year. He wanted to break free from the chains of his upbringing and offer his children the kind of love and understanding he never received. Years passed. Andrew graduated from college, built a career, and married a kind and patient woman named Claire. When their daughter Emily was born, he felt his life had finally gained meaning. Emily was the light of his life. Her laughter filled the house with warmth he had never experienced in his childhood. He read her bedtime stories, taught her how to ride a bike, and told her how important it was to love herself. But sometimes something deep within him would tighten, like a string pulled too taut. When Emily was 5, the first incident happened. She accidentally broke his favorite mug, a gift from colleagues that he cherished deeply. "What have you done?" he shouted, his voice sharp. Emily froze, her eyes filling with tears. Andrew immediately felt guilty. He knelt to her level and softly said, "I'm sorry, Emily. It's just a mug. What matters is that you didn't get hurt." But in the back of his mind, a thought lingered. Why did I yell at all? She's just a child. As the years went by, these episodes began to repeat. When Emily left her toys scattered in the living room, Andrew felt irritation bubbling up. "How many times have I told you to clean up after yourself?" he snapped. Claire tried to intervene. "Andrew, they're just toys." But in that moment, he could hear nothing but the echoes of his own childhood. After every outburst, he felt ashamed and promised himself it wouldn't happen again. Emily's 8th birthday became a turning point. Andrew had planned a party, invited her friends, and decorated the house. He wanted everything to be perfect. But when one of the children accidentally spilled juice on the new carpet, Andrew lost control. "Why can't you all be more careful?" he yelled, oblivious to the frightened faces of the children. Claire quickly took Emily to another room. When the guests left, she confronted him. "You promised you'd be different. You said you wouldn't make the same mistakes your parents did, but can't you see you're doing exactly the same thing?" Her words hit him like a blow, and for the first time, he realized the truth in them. He had become the person he had sworn he would never be. That night, he lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. One phrase, spoken by an old teacher, echoed in his mind. "Don't raise your children, raise yourself." Children grow up watching their parents. He realized that despite all his promises, he had failed to change. His childhood wounds still controlled his actions, and they had seeped into his relationship with Emily. He had thought that simply promising to be different was enough, but now he understood that it wasn't. He had to heal himself first, or he would continue to repeat the mistakes of the past. The next day, he signed up for therapy. Months passed, and Andrew worked hard to understand his emotions. He learned to recognize when his frustration was building and found healthier ways to cope with it. He began to talk more openly about his feelings, not just with Claire, but with Emily as well. "I'm sorry for yesterday," he said to her one evening after a particularly difficult day. "I was unfair to you. It wasn't your fault. I should have been more patient." Emily, looking up at him with her big brown eyes, nodded quietly. The warmth that radiated from her was the same as it had always been, but now there was something deeper in her gaze, something that said she understood. Andrew knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to change for his family. He understood now that breaking the chains of the past required more than just promises. It required real change, real growth. He no longer feared looking in the mirror. He knew that his past didn't have to define his future. Every day was a new opportunity to do better, to be better. And for the first time in his life, Andrew felt hopeful.